It's Matt Slick Live. Matt is the founder and president of the Christian Apologetics Research Ministry, found online at carm.org. When you have questions about Bible doctrines, turn to Matt Slick Live for answers. Taking your calls and responding to your questions at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right. Hey, welcome everyone. It's Matt Slick Live, and I'm your host, Matt Slick. And for the newbies, it's my real name. It's not a radio name. Sounds kind of cool, though, for a radio name. If you want to give me a call, we have 5 open lines, 877-207-2276. We also have some schools letting you guys know about. We have some online schools. If you want to check them out, just go to the carm.org website. On the right-hand side of any page, you'll see the Carm online schools. You can check them out. There's a lot of good stuff there. And we also have, just to let you guys know, a Carm wish list, which is on the right-hand side of any page as well. And we just have some things there that help the ministry, and that's another way to help us out if you're interested. And of course, we always do need your prayers, because without your prayers, we really can't go. You know, we got to have God's blessing. That's what we want, is God's blessing, an effort through here of what we do for Him. And what we do is answer questions and try and point people to Jesus Christ. That's the effort. That's the idea. And to give the gospel message, which I think I may be doing here a little bit. But tell you what, since we don't have any callers, I got an email, and someone asked a question, and I'm going to get to that question. Let's see, why is that coming over here like that? That's interesting. Okay, get that later. And so there is a question. See, in Islam, there's a problem. In Surah 4:157, it says that Allah, they implied it was Allah who made someone look like Jesus. And therefore, Allah was directly involved in deceiving people, made someone look like Jesus who was then crucified. But it was really not Jesus who was crucified, but someone was made to look like Jesus, and he was crucified. So, and also in Surah 354, and it says there that in the Quran, Surah 354, it says that God is the greatest of deceivers. Now, they don't translate that in English because, for obvious reasons, they change it. And I've had several people who speak Arabic tell me, yeah, it means deceiver. So, who are Christians now, they'll tell the truth. So, the question then becomes, this is for Kit, okay, for Kit out there listening to the podcast later on. The question then becomes, well, what about God sending a deluding influence on people so that they can believe what's false? This is out of 2 Thessalonians 2:11. For this reason, God will send upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false. Now, the Muslims will raise the issue, well, wait a minute. If you're going to complain about the God of Islam doing this, why does your God get a pass for doing the same thing? Well, first of all, it's not doing the same thing. In the Quran, what happens is Allah is the one, according to what the Muslims have said and what the Tafsir has said, that is the commentaries, that they have said that it was directly Allah who is the one who made, let's see, let me get the right one here, 157 I think is what it is. Yeah, that's right. It's Surah 4:157, not 171. So I'm going to read it to you, and we'll go over this. It says, they said in boast, we killed Jesus Christ, the son of Mary, the apostle of Allah. But they killed him not, nor crucified him, but so it was made to appear to them. And those who differ therein are full of doubts and with no certain knowledge, but only conjecture to follow, for of a surety they killed him not. Now, whenever I read the Quran, it just sounds to me like a guy trying to sound spiritual. When I read the Book of Mormon, it's the same thing. It sounds like somebody trying to sound spiritual. This doesn't have that ring of the Spirit of God and the truth of God. But nevertheless, so that's out of Surah 157 or 4:157. All right. So then, what about 2 Thessalonians 2:11? Because isn't that what the same thing is happening? No, it's not. God sent a deluding influence so that they would believe what is false. Now, the context here is, just so you guys know, the man of lawlessness, the Antichrist is arising. There's an apostasy going on. People are lawless. There are all kinds of problems going on. There, as it says in verse 9, that is the one who's coming is in accord with the activity of Satan, with all power and signs and false wonders, and with all deception of wickedness for those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth so as to be saved. For this reason, God will send upon them a deluding influence, so that they will believe what is like. And so literally what it is saying, an activity of error, and in the Greek, there's something that God is doing where they are allowed to be deceived. And different commentators have different theories about it. One of the common ones is that he's going to allow deceptive forces to go and move. And it may also be that he actually sends an influence on them. Somehow, some way, he's actively sending an influence, which then allows them to become even more deceived than they already are, because they will then believe the lie. Believe what lie? And believe what is false. And that's what literally says in the Greek, that believe the lie. Well, we're not sure what that lie is. We could talk about that another time. So in Surah 4, 157, Allah is directly causing the deception by his direct hand. But in Surah 2, 2 Thessalonians 2:11, that's not the case. God is not directly causing them to be deluded, but is sending an influence upon them, and then they are the ones who are being deluded in concert with that influence that's coming upon them. So God is not forcing them to be deluded. He's not forcing them to be deceived. He's not performing an action of deception, as was the case in Surah 4, 157. So there is a difference there. Hope that helps, Kit. Hope that made sense. We have 4 open lines if you want to give me a call, folks. 877-207-2276. Let's get to Matt from Charlotte, North Carolina. Matt, you are on the air. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. My question is in regards to Matthew 24:14.
Okay.
I'm driving right now, but I believe it says, the gospel of the kingdom will be preached to the whole world, or to all the nations, as the testimony, and the end will come.
Yep.
And I heard, I don't know if you're familiar with the Joshua Project, but it defines the term nation according to, I think the Greek word is ethnos, which breaks it down into smaller, like, people groups. And according to them, I think about 42% of the people groups have yet to hear the gospel, or to accept Christ. And I'm just wondering what your opinion is on that, on how close we are to fulfilling that Great Commission.
Well, if I would say we're 42% away from fulfilling it then. And you're right. The word there in Greek is ethnos. And when we look at what it means, generally speaking, it's a multitude, a people, a race, or even belonging and living together. So it has a variety of meanings. And what I'll often do in something like this is I have something I can do really fast. And that is to see how many times it occurs in the New Testament. In every single instance and every single verse, 161 times it occurs. For the Gentiles eagerly seek, and his name will be, and the Gentiles will have hope. For nation will rise up against nation. So it's referred to as Gentiles, nations. I'm scanning through, and nations, nation, Gentiles. So stuff like that, 161. So that's how it is translated into English. So it has a scope of meaning. But nevertheless, I'm not exactly sure what it means. Because if it means every tribe group, what about a group of, say, 300 people in a jungle in Amazon who've never been reached by anybody? Do they have to be included in that group? I don't know. I don't know what that scope means of it. So if we want to technically say that there's 42% not yet reached, and if that's what it means, then we've got a ways to go, don't we, before the end will come?
Yeah.
But if it means, well, how are they defining that group of 42%? How are they defining those? Do they mean language groups? Because I think that might be another way of looking at it, language groups. But it's a tough one. It's just a tough one. I don't have a great answer for you, which I did. So.
Yeah, I've heard, like, through my pastor at my local church and different, pastors or teachers that the end, I guess, is near, and obviously there's persecution in the world and things like that. But when you put it in a percentage, and I know that it's not exactly accurate, like you said, determining that actual percentage of fulfilling the Great Commission is kind of hard to for us to grasp on our end versus God's perspective.
Right.
But 42% is pretty significant.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Seems like we got a lot of work to do,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Christians need to start supporting missionaries and ministries that reach out. It's something that we're called to do as Christians because Jesus gave us the Great Commission. And I believe that when God specifically commands us to do something, if we're specifically doing what he commanded to do, he's going to open up the doors because that's what he wants us to do. We're in his will. And so to me, it's pretty simple. So, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. So generally what I understand the word nations in that context to mean, this is just my opinion, I'm not going to die on this hill, is the major geographical groups that are defined by basic language and culture. And so like the Amazon, it wouldn't fit because there are still going to be tribes there probably, I don't know, that are still not reached, haven't touched, so to speak, civilization or been contacted yet. Do they count? I don't think they do. I think it's just... maybe it does, but I just don't think so. I think it's broader groups. That's what I think. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But
thank you. I appreciate you taking my call.
Sure, man. Well, God bless. Thanks. Hope that helped.
God bless you.
All right.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That was Matt from Charlotte, North Carolina. We have 3 open lines. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. Hey, Courtney, you're on the air. What do you got?
Well, that was quick. I was just talking to the other guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a good guy. What do you got, buddy?
Yeah.
Well, what do you got? Oops.
So I was wondering what in the world Juneteenth was. I don't really know what that was. I just heard it, and I'm like, well, what's Juneteenth?
Well, what I'm going to do is look it up right now because I did before, and it's Friday, June 19th, and the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. That's what it is. Juneteenth, a national holiday. No, it isn't.
Slavery.
Yeah, of ending slavery by the blood of a lot of white people. Just, the Black Lives Matter people, which is a Marxist group, incidentally, and just get upset when I see the Black Lives Matter people and everybody joining on that bandwagon when it's Marxist and anti-family. People don't even know that. But,
well, I've heard that, and I went to their website and read that.
Yep.
So I'm like, what in the world is going on with this whole...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there people that they don't really... Is that the point? That they don't really know what their agenda is?
Well, what I believe is that there's a term called useful idiots, and it's a term that is used, and some said it was attributed to, I think, Stalin, but they say it probably wasn't. It's a term used generically by different people. Useful idiots is a term used to designate those who do not understand the real issues and can be used by movements to undermine and destroy countries, and then they themselves become enslaved. They're useful, but they don't know what's going on. Hold on, we'll be right back after these messages, okay? Folks, we'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Join us for Science, Scripture, and Salvation, a radio ministry of the Institute for Creation Research. We want to encourage you in your Christian faith by showing how scientific evidence supports the Bible, particularly the Genesis account. When we see that the first and most foundational book of the Bible can be trusted in all matters, including science, it builds confidence in the rest of the inspired Word all the way to Revelation.
Pastor Greg Laurie says God can use you just the way you are. This week on A New Beginning, Pastor Greg points out God is looking not so much for ability as availability. Are you available to do something great for God's kingdom in this critical time? Learn more this week on A New Beginning with Pastor Greg Laurie.
Looking around can get real depressing, amen? That's why we need to look up. We need to be reminded that we are citizens of another place, and one of these days we're going home to the homeland, and we'll be at home with Jesus forever.
Join Dr. David Jeremiah for his message, What's Up with Heaven, on the next Turning Point Weekend Edition.
This is John MacArthur inviting you to join me for Portraits of Grace. H.G. Wells wrote of a man overcome by the stress of modern life. His doctor suggested he find fellowship with God. The man responded, "What? That up there having fellowship with me? I would as soon think of cooling my throat with the Milky Way or shaking hands with the stars." Well, that response reflects the despair of those who believe that God doesn't exist or doesn't care. But as Christians, we know better because we commune with God every day, and we look forward to perfect and sweet fellowship with Him for all eternity. Don't ever allow cynics to rob you of that great confidence. This is John MacArthur, trusting your lives are portraits of grace.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane Morris. Join me and my Colson Center colleague John Stone Street for Breakpoint This Week. It's your weekly briefing on the news and how to interpret it through the lens of a Christian worldview. John Stone Street, Shane Morris, that's me, and you each weekend right here on this station.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, let's get back on the phones with Courtney. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. So you said you read the Black Lives Matters website. I just went through the break, and here's some stuff for people who don't know. This is what it says from it's what we believe it says. We are guided by the fact that all Black lives matter. I have no problem with that, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status, or location. Well, yeah, all lives matter, okay? But it goes on, we are self-reflexive and do not work required and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. Now, cisgenderism means that a person identifies with the sex that he was born as, male to male genitalia, female to female. They identify that with their, okay? So they want to dismantle that privilege and uplift Black trans folks, especially Black trans women who continue to disproportionately be impacted by trans antagonistic violence. It's like, this is so leftist. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family. Now, the Western nuclear family is based, it's based out of the Bible. Mom, dad, children. That's how it is in God's word. So they want to disrupt that. So we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children. Now, wait a minute. I don't want anybody else raising my children. I don't want them to teach atheism. I don't want them to teach Islam. No, Christianity. I have my right as a parent, but no, they want to dismantle that. Now think about this. What this is a community effort, the village effort of raising children. Who guides the village? The political correct agenda. And if you stand against that political correct agenda, you're the one who's a problem, and your children will be taken away from you. This is brainwashing. This is what it's actually foundational for. That collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. So you have to be comfortable. Comfort is not what we should be seeking all the time. I mean, to some degree, yeah, but my children don't need to be comfortable all the time. They need to work. Take out the trash, clean the cat box, and Anyway, it says we foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking. So they want to undo this whole thing of the family. They want queer affirming stuff to become the norm. They're 2 to 4% at the largest amount, and that they want to govern the majority of people in the way to have it for them to be to think. It's just.
So this makes me think of Romans 1.
Yes.
Is that appropriate?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I mean, is that where we're at? I don't want God to give our nation over. Isn't that what it says there? He gave them over.
He doesn't.
Fine.
Not the nation.
Is that where we're at?
But people, yes. And when people who don't know what you're talking about, it says this: professing to become, this is Romans 1:22. Professing to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible man and birds and four-footed animals and crawling creatures. Therefore, now this is their sin, and then therefore God gave them over to in the lusts of their hearts to impurity, so that their bodies would be dishonored among them. Verse 25 says, for, this is a reason, for they exchanged the truth of God for a lie. And this is what BLM is doing. This is what a lot of groups are doing. Exchanging the truth of God for a lie. And worshiped and served the creature rather than the creator who's blessed forever. Amen. There's different ways to worship the creature, where you can worship the creature without bowing down and praying to it, but you can elevate creature above the truths of God in his revelation. That's a form of idolatry and bowing down and worshiping. So humanistic ideology, particularly in the idea of sexual reorientation and reconditioning. It is a humanistic, man-centered thing that they're doing, and they're bowing down to that. And they want others to bow down to it. That's what happens. This is like when you get into the thing of, don't say husband and wife, say partner. I don't agree with that, because that what they want me to do is participate in their redefinition of terms. I'm not going to participate in that. Okay? Anyway, verse 26, for this reason, God gave them over to degrading passions, for the women exchanged the natural function for that which is unnatural. And in the same way also the men abandoned the natural function of the woman and burned in their desire toward one another, men with men, in committing indecent acts and receiving in their persons the due penalty of their error. And just as they did not see fit to acknowledge God any longer, God gave them over to a depraved mind to do those things which are not proper. This is BLM's statement of their beliefs. They're given over to it by God, to judgment. Now, I'm a white guy. I've met black guys. I've had black friends. Not right now. I don't care. My kids like black. My daughters like black guys. Great. Marry a black guy. I don't care. Just be a Christian. I don't care. But BLM is by nature racist. Black lives matter. It should be all lives matter. If they really want to be so true, all lives matter, and focus and lead the way in fairness, not in a form of verbal segregation to demand power and rights. That's not how you win friends and influence people. But nevertheless, let me go on. It says, God gave them over, and then being filled with unrighteousness, wickedness, greed, evil, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, arrogant, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, without understanding, untrustworthy, unloving, unmerciful. And although they know the ordinance of God, that those who practice such things are worthy of death, they not only do the same, but also give hearty approval to those who practice them. This is exactly what's going on in our culture. With the left in Hollywood and the media, the radical left, the radical left's media agenda, their brainwashing in the schools and the whole bit, giving hearty approval to those who practice evil things. What are these evil things? Homosexuality, pedophilia, necromancy, wickedness, murder, malice, being haters of God, blaspheming God's name by using it all the time in vain. In their arrogance, they deny God. They're violent. They're untrustworthy. They're unloving. And they're hypocritical. This is what's happening in our world. And I'm standing against it where I can. I'm going to speak the truth. And others are too. Go ahead.
That God gives, that was with Israel, right? With Romans 1.
No,
this
no. This is to
the
everybody.
Nation over.
No, this is everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this where he gives the whole nation over,
No,
or
no,
just,
no, no. People.
just the people?
It's individuals, because nations are concepts. They're a collection of individuals. Verse in Romans 1:18, the beginning of this, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. And what is that judgment? The wrath? Being given over to believe these lies. And this is what we're seeing in America.
Wow.
People are believing lies all over the place. And the reason they're doing this, we have factions and violence and hypocrisy and mockery and condemnation of the truth and warring against the things of godliness. The reason we have this is because they've lost their way. They don't know who God truly is. He's the basis of our morality and our truth, only found in Jesus Christ. And because of that, they're fragmenting and standing against each other and being deceived by the evil one and others who work in service of them. Okay, we got to go. There's a break. Talk to you later, Courtney. Okay, God bless.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Please stay tuned.
Plan to be with us for A Call to the Nation, a weekly message by Carter Conlon from Times Square Church in New York City.
What happens when I die? Where do I go? And is there a deeper meaning to life than the meaning that I have procured in my own heart, or maybe I have laid hold of?
Make sure to be with us every week for A Call to the Nation with Carter Conlon.
Next time on Focus on the Family, Dr. Tony Evans explains what it means to have a kingdom marriage under God's authority and for His glory. He shares about maintaining oneness, the importance of having a servant's heart, and how to rebuild a marriage relationship that's been fractured. God's wisdom for your marriage on the next Focus on the Family.
This is Anne Graham Lotz with Daily Light for Daily Living. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything." Medical studies have proven that worry attacks the central nervous system, the circulatory system, and the digestive system of our bodies. Noah literally could have worried himself to death. After all, he survived the equivalent of a nuclear holocaust. Sunday school stories conjure up the picture of Noah as a quaint, folksy old zookeeper with a plump, rosy-cheeked wife. He was, in fact, a very strong, courageous man of character and faith who could have been tremendously traumatized by the most violent worldwide catastrophe in history. Listen to me. Noah surely knew the paralysis of fear and the total paranoia of worry, but he also knew that the God of the storm was the God who had promised to save him. He kept his faith in God and his focus on God. This is Anne Graham Lotz.
An invitation to victory.
The moment you get anxious and worried about the future, that miserable character is parachuting on you with cleats. And that is why I view worry now as an intruder into my life. And what do you do with an intruder? You fight him with every ounce of your energy, and you kick him out by reciting the promises of God, by remembering that He is the only one who died for you to save you eternally, by remembering that Jesus promised His own, that He'll never leave you nor forsake you, by refusing to accept Satan's attack and plan on your life, by refusing to return to bondage and slavery after the Lord Jesus has set you free, by refusing to let Him ruin your day because of some fantasy about tomorrow.
Join Dr. Michael Youssef each day, right here for Leading the Way.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. We're in the chat room during the break. Someone reminded me of something in oh my goodness, in California, which I call the People's Republic of California, the Governor Newsom. I call him Comrade Newsom. They basically now outlawed singing in churches. Not supposed to sing because it can help spread COVID. Wow. You know, this is, you know what totalitarianism is, folks? Anybody know what this is? I'm going to do this right now. I want to get this definition, totalitarianism. a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. That's totalitarianism. So what is complete subservience to the state? If you don't wear a mask, you'll be fined or jailed. You must stand 6 feet apart. The government will tell you what to do, and it will require and it will dictate to you what you can and cannot do. The Bill of Rights will have to be gutted. The Constitution will have to be gutted for full totalitarianism to come in. But they're doing it nonetheless, and they're using various means to enforce totalitarian principles upon us. This is scary. So now the government, the state is telling the churches in California, the People's Republic of California, Comrade Newsom, you can't sing in church. Wow. Yeah, it's scary. And that's right. It is scary, Erasmus. That's what Erasmus says in the room. Okay. Yeah. So let's get to Ryan from Pennsylvania. Ryan, welcome. You're on the air.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you inviting me to call anytime.
Okay.
And I wanted to pay you a compliment. I was reading on CARM about in a section that you called "Is Logic Common Ground Between the Believer and the Non-Believer?" And you said that you believed that logic was indeed a kind of common ground. That's a break with Greg Bunson, who had a tendency of saying there was no common ground. And I think that indicates you put a lot of thought into that when you're breaking with Greg Bunson on that. And one of my main critiques of Bunson is he uses the phrase common ground and neutral ground almost interchangeably. And I think clearly no two people come into anything on neutral ground, but we all come into it with a common ground because we all live in a fallen world. That's one of my best critiques of Bunson. But you kind of broke with him with that, and I thought that showed a lot of thought on your part, and I wanted to pay you a compliment for doing that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Let me explain a little bit more about what I mean. You've basically covered it. Nobody is neutral. The unbelievers are not neutral about God. They're either against him or for him. And the issue of logic, I speak with unbelievers all the time using logic. It is a common way for me to be able to reach them. And then when they use logic, I show that they're not neutral about what their beliefs about it is. So I break with him in that a little bit, but I think that Bonson would have modified a little bit and said, yeah, that's in that sense correct, because it was I think you rightly said, he's equating neutralism, which he's spoken much about, to the idea of common ground, which I'm differentiating them more than he is.
Yes, and he used those terms interchangeably, and I think that was a big mistake on his part.
Might
because,
be.
like I say, we can talk about nobody having a neutral ground, but obviously we all live in a fallen world, so obviously that's a common ground that we all have.
Yeah,
I thought that was it's a nuanced position, but I thought it showed a great deal of thought on your part.
Well, there you go. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right.
Yeah. Also, if I may, last week you talked about moral absolutes, and I was wondering if you ever saw the debate between William Lane Craig and Shelley Kagan about whether or not God is necessary for morals.
I haven't listened to it.
And to use your phrase, I really think Shelley Kagan cleaned his clock.
Okay.
And I think that kind of put the debate on a really different
send me
really different basis.
If you could, hold on. If you could send me the URL to that, just to.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
If you could just email, if you would, just email me the URL to info@carm.org. I'll check it out. Okay. Because okay, sounds good. All right. We'll talk to you later. All right. That was Ryan from Pennsylvania. Let's get to Ben from Georgia. Ben, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, Matt. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. What do you got, man?
I wanted to ask if you believe that the moral argument for the existence of God actually demonstrates the existence of God as it comes.
Depending. I want to say yes. Let me ask, are you an atheist by any chance?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And so I do believe that moral argumentation has a lot of power to demonstrate the necessity of God's existence. Okay. So,
okay.
All right. So do you believe in morals?
I wouldn't defend. I know you were just mentioning moral absolutes. I don't defend moral absolutes, rather just moral objectives.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions here. Maybe you've heard me do this before. Would you agree that
I think so.
would you, okay, maybe would you agree that statements are either true or false? It's called the law of excluded middle in classical logic. So, I'm talking.
Yeah, so it's either X or not X. Right?
Yes, a statement's either true or it's not true. So I'm talking to you, true. Okay, I'm eating a steak while I'm talking to you, not true. Okay, so if I were to give you a statement, could you tell me if the statement is true or false? Okay, you ready? The statement is this: it is always wrong for anyone. Now, this means it's universal, always for anyone. It's always, I'll say, morally wrong, okay? Always morally wrong for anyone to torture babies to death merely for their personal pleasure. Would you say it's true, or it's not the case that it's true?
For everyone?
Yeah, it's always wrong for everyone to do that. Because here's
I can conceive of a situation where that wouldn't be wrong.
Okay.
And a different person.
No, it's not about individuals. It's always wrong for everyone.
Right. Then I disagree.
Okay, so then you would be arguing that there are instances when it's the morally right thing to do to torture babies to death merely for your personal pleasure.
Not from my moral objectives.
Well, but you said that the statement is false, which means it's a moral absolute. You're saying it's absolutely not true. It's a moral statement. You're saying it's not absolutely true, which also means that it's absolutely true that you can then defend the position to the contrary. You can then come up with an instance where it is morally right to do that to babies merely for their personal pleasure. You see,
I can defend a position where, from my moral objectives, that would always be wrong.
Okay, then you believe in moral absolutes. Then you, from your moral objectives, say there's something that's always wrong. But you can't have that from your moral perspective as an atheist because you don't have any means to justify why it's always wrong for everyone.
The way I would justify it would be just common agreement among societies.
But
Societies that don't value human life, for instance, tend to go away.
Yeah, but they tend to doesn't mean they do, and so therefore that statement is self-defeating. So you're saying by what they agree to, but that's argumentum ad populum. It's a logical fallacy. What you're saying is, well, the majority believe it, so that's why it's good. Well, that's not a valid argument.
No, actually, I wouldn't phrase it that way. I would just say the fact that humans value human life. We're able to have a society in which we agree on certain moral objectives.
But the thing is, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that statement.
No, I know.
You said it was false. So if it's false, you have to provide an instance when it's okay and it's morally the right thing to do for everyone to torture babies to death.
I don't think I have to defend it for everyone.
But that's what the statement's about.
I'm not defending.
It's always wrong for anyone, everyone. Okay, it's always wrong for everyone to do this. And you're going to say no. There's instances where it's the contrary to that, which means there is a necessary situation. It had to be necessary, where it's always right for everyone to do that because you're disagreeing with the statement. See, the statement is very. Go ahead.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the statement is very, very difficult for an atheist to get out of. Extremely difficult because we can't. You're stuck. This is the weakness of atheism as a moral thing. So I can say to you, you can turn it around. You can say, well, Matt, well, how do you justify that it's always wrong? And I could do this. I could say, because God, who is the ubiquitous, omnipresent, eternal being who reflects his own character to us in a moral sense, has stated that this is why it's wrong, because he's the standard of righteousness. And this is why it applies to everybody. I can answer the question. You can't. Here's another one that's problematic for an atheistic worldview. Now, let's just say, you sound like a reasonable guy. Let's just say that we've got a break coming up here, so let me go quickly. That we have in the atheist world and in our world today, we have a lot of people who do bad things and get away with it and never get punished. Okay, they die and they never get punished, right? In the Christian worldview, people get punished on the day of judgment. In an atheist worldview, they don't. So during the break, think about this. Which worldview is better? The one where people get what they deserve, or the one where they get away with stuff and do wrong? and get away with it. So see if you can answer the question. We come back. You get time to think during the break. Folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Please stay tuned.
If there is no storm, you will never know if you're growing.
Dr. Tony Evans says even life's roughest patches come our way for a reason.
No matter how big your storm gets, God is bigger.
Finding treasures in the midst of our darkest times. All this week on The Alternative with Dr. Tony Evans.
It's been the theme of popular movies, a question that captivates the imagination. How would you live if you knew the world would end soon? Well, we don't know when, but the world is coming to an end. And the question is, are you ready? Consider that with John MacArthur on Grace to You in the study, Jesus is Coming.
Between family, work, ministry, financial pressures, health issues, and just a little time for yourself, is it any wonder that our lives and relationships are on the ragged edge? Well, next on Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram, Chip begins a series called Spiritual Simplicity, Doing Less, Loving More. If you're ready to figure out how to make time for things that really matter, don't miss Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram. That's Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram.
When most of us think about love and marriage these days, we have more of a pop song, Hallmark Channel view of love than a biblical view of love. On the next edition of Family Life Today, we'll talk about how the Bible defines real love and what that looks like in a relationship between a husband and wife. Join us this week for Family Life Today.
It's time now for the Mefford Minute with Janet Mefford.
How important is a good name? The story is told of Confederate Army General Robert E. Lee, who was asked after the Civil War if his name could be used to promote the Louisiana lottery. If Lee would consent to the deal, lottery officials promised he would certainly become rich. But Lee didn't react as they'd hoped. Gentlemen, I lost my home in the war. I lost my fortune in the war. I lost everything except my name, Lee said. My name is not for sale. Proverbs 22:1 reminds us a good name is to be more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver and gold. And as Christians, our names have attached to them our very reputations, whether good or bad. If a good name is lost, it's often lost for good. But even the worst of names can become good names when that person is redeemed by Christ. Just look at what happened when Saul became Paul. No wonder he admonished the church with these wise words. This is how one should regard us, as servants of Christ. I'm Janet Mefford.
For more of Janet's perspective, listen to Janet Mefford today or online at janetmefford.com.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Ben, you got a question, an answer for the question I'll review it. In my worldview, people will always face justice one way or another, won't get away with evil. In Christ, he pays for that evil, and so we're saved from that. And in your worldview, people get away from evil all the time, and that's it. So which worldview is better?
Well, I appreciate you moving forward the conversation. I'll go ahead and answer real quick. I was going to say that Christianity, if you repent, if you live a life of evil or do wrong things by most people's standards, and you get to your deathbed and you repent, is that not also an escape from punishment at the deathbed? So I think it does split both ways.
Well, Jesus is the one who pays for that sin, and that he is the one who's offended, because when you break a law, you're breaking the law of the state, in this case. In Christianity, you break the law of God, and the one who is offended is the one who forgives and passes sentence. The sentence was passed upon himself in Jesus Christ. So justice is met in Christianity. The law is not ignored, but the punishment of the law still occurs. It's just transferred to Christ, who is the offended one. So if you offend me, I got to forgive you, not my wife. And so he's the one who invented it. It's consistent. But in atheism, people get away with stuff all the time, don't they? And they'll never have to be held accountable for it. And law and righteousness are not satisfied. So,
yeah, it's very interesting because from each of our points of view, the other is getting away with something.
well, we have the issue of the law being satisfied. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
So
that, and I can accept that. However, from if in fact God doesn't exist, in fact, then we're both in the same. And I don't want to commit to two faith.
Well, then you just shot yourself in the foot. If God doesn't exist, which I don't agree with, but if you didn't exist, then you're going to say, well, both get away with something that's wrong, and you're admitting that you're getting with that the atheist position, you're getting away with something that's wrong. So
absolutely, and I think, and it's absolutely unjust.
Okay,
agreed.
All right. Well, anyway, enjoy the.
I
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did want to get back to the original reason why I called in. I just wanted to make sure I could. You said that the moral argument demonstrates the necessity of existence of God. It's not a demonstration of the existence of God.
You can only justify universals, transcendentals, and moral absolutes by presupposing the Christian triune God. It's the only way to justify it. It's called grounding. You cannot justify universal morals. And what I did with you initially was to show you there are moral absolutes. You agreed that there were without knowing it. Because if you say, no, it's not always true.
I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Because if the statement is either true or false, you're making a statement of universal moral truth. It's either universally true morally or it's universally not true morally, based upon morals. So you're actually conceding to a universal moral absolute. And so from your perspective, how do you have that from an atheistic perspective without a universal mind? You can't justify it. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show. I know you're moving on.
Here we got other callers. Call back again tomorrow, and we can talk about why materialistic atheism is self-refuting. It can't be true. Okay?
Okay.
Call back, and I'll tell you why. All right, buddy. Talk to you later. All right. That was Ben. He's a nice atheist. I mean, some atheists are obstreperous twits, but he's a nice guy to talk to anyway. Let's get to Alvin from Michigan. Oh, I should have gone to everybody. Alvin, welcome. You're on the air.
Hello. Hello, this is Alvin.
Hi.
Yeah, nice to talk to you, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What do you got, man?
Good. Got a question about the Sabbath.
Okay.
I listen to most all of your programs and sermon audio,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you talk about the Sabbath is not repeated in the New Testament.
It's not commanded to be kept in the New Testament.
Not commanded to be kept. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So how should we keep the Sabbath today?
We don't have to.
The Jews kept the Sabbath from sundown to like Friday.
Right. Sundown to sun up, or sun up to sundown. So are you a Seventh-day Adventist person or what?
No, I'm
okay.
Reformed.
Okay. The reason we don't keep the Saturday Sabbath is because the Sabbath in the Ten Commandments, all of the Ten Commandments are reiterated in the New Testament as being true and valid, except for the Sabbath. But that's not exactly true, because it is true in the sense that Jesus says he is our rest. Matthew 11, 27, 28. Particularly 28, Luke 10, 22, 23. He is the one who is our rest. He's our Sabbath. So we have our rest in Christ. And because he is our Sabbath, we don't have to keep the law of the Sabbath. So God rested, not because he was tired, but because it was a demonstration of the rest to come, the rest that we would have in the necessity of keeping the law. We don't have to keep it because Jesus kept the law perfectly, 1 Peter 2:22. And because we were in him, Romans 5:18, 1 Corinthians 15:22, and Romans 6:6 and Romans 6:8, that when he died, we died with him, and therefore we died to the law. Romans 7:4 talks about that. So he who has died is free from the law. So we don't have the Sabbath to keep. We don't have to keep any of the law. We're freed from it. But because we're regenerate, we don't want to lie or steal or do those things. And we want to honor God every day, not just on the Sabbath day. Plus, Jesus was.
In terms of,
Go ahead. There's more, but go ahead.
in terms of going to church, I guess on the Sabbath day or on Sunday, we go. A lot of churches they only go to one service,
Mm-hmm.
but to really learn and study it and hear the Word of God, should we go twice on Sunday, or how should we spend there?
There's no biblical requirement. My first assistant pastor, I worked at a church, or served at a church, I should say, where they had 2 services, one in the morning, one in the evening on Sunday, and they also had a midweek study. So they had 3 times, and that's fine. So a lot of Reformed traditions have that day of Sunday to be a day of real learning, where you prepare yourself. But a lot of churches don't do that too. There's no requirement either way. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, God bless, man.
Well,
Thanks for
thanks,
calling.
sir.
Thanks for
Yeah,
calling.
thanks for the show.
Okay. All right. Let's get to Tony from New York. Tony's been waiting a long time. Tony, what do you got, buddy?
Hey, Matt, thanks for your ministry and to the saints. Thanks for all your work.
Well, thank you, man. Thanks for saying it.
Yeah, my question is regards to the Seventh-day Adventists.
Mm-hmm.
So they claim they have the objection that says that we changed the Sabbath, or the Roman Catholic Church changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's the first question, and the second one is.
Let's get to that one. Let's get to that one first. Let's do one at a time.
Okay.
So, okay, you got it there. Thank you. The Roman Catholic Church didn't change anything. The early church started worshiping on Sunday right away. Now, it says in Romans 14:5-6, one man regards one day above another, another regards every day alike. Let each man be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes a day observes it for the Lord, and he who eats does so for the Lord. So the Sabbath, according to the SDA, is supposed to be on a Saturday, and they observe the Lord for that, or observe the day for the Lord. That's what they're doing. But Paul says, one man regards one day above another, another regards every day alike. Let each man be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it for the Lord. So what he's saying is we don't have to worship on Saturday or Sunday. Now, the SDAs have a real problem with this set of scriptures because they do all kinds of gymnastics to get out from underneath it. And I can go into other verses about this in Colossians 2:16 and 17. But on the first day of the week, in Acts 20, verse 7, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul began talking to them, intending to depart the next day, and he prolonged his message until midnight. They're gathering on the first day of the week. In 1 Corinthians 16, 1-2, now concerning the collection for the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, so do you also. On the first day of every week, let each of you put aside and save, as he may prosper, that no collections may be made when I come. And then Revelation 1, verses 10 and 11, the Lord's Day. The Lord's Day is Sunday. That's the day he rose from the dead. That's why it's called the Lord's Day. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day, and I heard behind me in a cloud a voice like the sound of trumpets saying, write in the book whatever you see, etc. So we see the change occurred then. And so it's not, when the SDA say this, they've just not done their homework. Okay? All right?
Oh yeah, the second one is on Galatians 4:14. They use that saying Jesus, Michael the Archangel.
Jesus is not Michael the Archangel. They are in great error in that. But it says, and that which was a trial to you in my bodily condition, you did not despise or loathe, but you received me as an angel of God, as Jesus Christ himself. And so here's a problem. The SDA will admit that there's a logical problem. I'll go through this quickly because we're almost out of time. They will admit that Jesus is both divine and human. So what they're going to say is that the angel part became human. But that's impossible. It's impossible. Because if an angel is to become human, then the angel nature has to cease to exist. Jesus is not angel and human and divine. He's human and divine. That means the angelic part, in their view, would have had to have ceased existing. But if it ceases to exist, there's no continuity in personhood. So if I have a chair and I build it, you and I build it exactly to a certain specification, then we take the chair, we break it up and throw it into a fire. It's no longer that chair. We then take more wood and we build the exact same chair. It's exactly the same in every way. Is it the same chair as the first one? No. It's a replication of the first one. The continuity of the first stopped. So this is called the continuity problem. So they don't realize, because they don't think these things through very deeply, that the angel can't stop being an angel and then become an angel again, which is what they're saying. Do you have a continuity? It's just logically impossible. So they couldn't think their way out of a wet paper bag on this one, okay? So the SDA just don't have it together. They don't have all their logical pause in the litter box, let me just say. Okay?
Gotcha. Thanks, Matt. Is there a book you recommend on that subject?
Yeah, the Bible. No, I don't have. You go to Carm and read the articles up on that, okay? That's all I know.
All right, thanks.
All right, buddy. God bless. All right. Now, we're about out of time. Patrick wanted to talk on BLM. You've been waiting a half hour. And Jeremiah from Texas, apologetics question. Can you guys call back tomorrow? Because we're out of time. By the time you get the question out, it'll be music going. So, folks, I apologize for that. This is how it is with the show. May the Lord bless you. And by His grace, we'll be back on there tomorrow. I ask that you pray for this country. Folks, this country needs a lot of help. It's given up on God, and now we're seeing the fruit of the evil that is left in the vacuum when there is no God. And this is what's happening. Pray for our country. May the Lord bless you. By His grace, back on there tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. See you. Bye. All right. How you guys doing? Wow, Glenn, that's interesting. I'd love to see that documentation if you've got that. Can you send me that at info? The U.S. population as of 7/1/2020 is 331,002,277. Oh, if that population, of the population, you mean, only 0.856% have been affected, with the mortality rate as 0.0385%. The recovery rate is 99.73%. I did my homework. I'm going to state by state now. Send me that information, Glenn. Seriously, I would love that. Topher, you'd like to learn under me for a year? Well, it usually takes 20 minutes before people don't want to be my friend anymore. Isn't that right, Charlie?
Right. 20 minutes. I almost alienated you by clicking my pen the first class we attended together.
That's right. Clear back then, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Pen clicks drive me crazy. I can't focus. I just like, what are you doing with the pen? It's just one of those weird things. So, Matt, do you do personal conversations about theology? Yes, I do. I do them usually on either Pal Talk or Discord. That's where I generally do them. I'll have one-on-one, but I want people to listen. I want to teach more people. Do you think the mark of the beast could be a vaccine? Could. I don't think it is, but could. You know, vaccine that they put a tag in you. I don't think this is, but man, you know, it needs prayer and repentance, Bill. We are in trouble. Our country is in deep trouble. You could just see all the kind of here's one of the things that bothers me the most. I mean, besides the violence, that's bad, but it's like someone criticizes somebody else and somebody else has to change their ways because you criticized them. Social media, you know, hey, we're complaining against you for saying that homosexuality is false or is sinful. Oh, I'm sorry. I'd be like, so? I don't need your approval. I mean, I don't understand why people are so up in arms about, you know, what people think. Little whannies, you know, whannies. you would like to learn more about Calvinism, then go here. I'm going to put this in, Travis. Go to. Okay. And you can also go to, let's see if I can find it really fast. I'd suggest you not get the download because it's not really formatted for download. I got so much to do. Let's see. Notes on Calvinism. You can try the, hey, there we go. It's on Kindle. Yeah, the Kindle form isn't very good because it's outline form and Kindle so small it scrunches things up. But there's that, and there's the book form too, someplace. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. So I saw today child molesters want to get into LGBT, and politically correct would be minor preferences. Oh, yeah. Minor attracted persons, they're called. Minor attracted persons. And they're using the same techniques that homosexuals used to get their lifestyle accepted and promoted. We got to preach the gospel. I got to preach the gospel, you know, regularly on this show. I got to get into that habit. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. I didn't see John Baker's answer to me about his phone number. I live in Nazi, California, says Bill. Have it wear a face mask at work stores, but what really gets my blood boiled is wearing it at church. Our churches are bowing down to Adolf Newsom instead of Jesus Christ. Yep. Now think about this. For example, I don't know how it is where you guys are, guns and ammo. I go to the store, I want to buy some 9mm ammo. It's gone. I talk to the people who work there. They say, oh, it's gone fast. I signed up for an email so that when it's in there, I'm going to go straight over and get what I can. Why is it that guns and ammo are basically gone? I go over to a certain sports place and they always had a wall full of guns. You know, you can display, you can check them out. Half of them are gone, and half of the ones in the display cases are gone, and ammo is hard to get. Why is that? Because people are prepping. Now, what are they prepping for? They're preparing for mayhem. They're preparing for riots. They're preparing for self-protection. This is what's happening. Now, if you guys are listening, tell me if it's happened, the same thing's happening where you are. Okay, if you do that kind of thing, okay? Now, this means that a lot of people are getting ready. What are they getting ready for? They're prepared. They're preparing themselves. What are they getting ready for? What are they doing? What's going on? Well, now think about this. Who is the one who has the guns? Is it the left who has the guns? Or Bubba on the right who has the guns? It's Bubba on the right. The left people, what they do is they congregate in these liberal places like New York City, Seattle, LA, Frisco. That's where they congregate. And then because there's so many of them, they're leftists, when they vote, the states go that way. They have a great amount of influence. But the people on the sidelines are the ones out there who have guns. Now in Seattle, I just talked to two guys from Seattle, and they said they don't agree with Seattle. They're on the outskirts of Seattle, and most people they know are conservative and don't like the politics of Seattle. So these areas of high concentration are dominating states, which then strongly influences the whole United States. So who are the people then with the guns? It's not those Democrats, the leftists. Okay. Now, I'll talk about zombies here in a little bit because I think they're zombies, and I'll tell you why. I got a reason for this. So in November, what's going to happen? We're going to have an election. Now, I believe, or I suspect very strongly, that the left, the radical left, wants to open the borders to get votes because the people from South America, and all over, they vote socialist. They want the state to give them everything. And I was going to say the states, they're going to, the left, oh yeah, and the voting mail-in thing is wrought with problems, fraud, and it's been demonstrated over and over again that this is not a safe way to do voting. And the leftist media won't even talk about it. But the Dems want this mail-in thing. Why? I believe they don't want Trump to get in. They know that the conservatives are going to vote for Trump. So what would happen? Now just think about this. What would happen if the Dems demand voter registration by mail and voting by mail? Who counts them? They do. And then they say, Trump, you're no longer, you're not president. Okay, you lost, and Biden is in. How many people would accept that at that point? I know a lot of people would not. Would it be the people who would not accept it are the ones who've been stocking up? Now, I'm not saying, I'm not advocating anything. I'm just worried because it's like, what's going to happen? It would not take much to bring this country to its knees. You guys can go out there and do some research on what it would take on YouTube. There's videos out there. It doesn't take much. You could bring the entire country to its knees with 1,000 people. There's a way to do it. And it'd be mayhem everywhere. When Katrina came into New Orleans and wiped out the power, within 48 to 72 hours, there was rapes and murders and muggings going on. Complete anarchy. People were hiding on rooftops, guarding themselves, hoping for help. People could drop in water and supplies and stay free from the bad guys who were running around, the ones who did have guns. What's going to be like if this country continues the way it is as the rise of violence is increasing? And they say they want to defund police. And I've been watching the news about this, and I watched Hannity. He did some statistics, and is showing the Democrat-run cities like Chicago and New York, the violence now is increasing. Well, that's because the police are withdrawing. Well, they want to defund them. In Seattle, the same kind of thing is going to happen. And so it just means the bad guys are going to love this. They would like it if the police weren't there. The bad guys aren't going to respect a community effort to stop something. They're going to say, we don't need you. So what's going to happen? This kind of stuff is only going to breed more and more problems. And I'm really concerned that November might be a trigger point. Personally, I'm not saying it is. I'm not prophesying. I'm just thinking, oh man, this is bothering me. Because I'm getting pissed off about what's happening and how the leftist comrade governors aren't sending in the troops to stop this violence. How they're allowing this to occur, and how they are even supporting the idea, many of them in cities and mayors, supporting the idea of defunding the police. This is leading to chaos. And this thing, if this happens, it'll start to be a movement where the police are going to say, we're not going to put up with this anymore. They're going to protect themselves. They're going to say, I'm done. Then what's going to happen? Then you're going to be required to defend yourself. That's why the stores ammo is empty, guns are empty. The records are being broken like every week or every month on registrations for guns and stuff like this. People are getting ready for what this is leading to. I'm concerned. I'm concerned. So I think you guys should be too. The Democrats are self-destructive. That's exactly right. They're hypocrites. They're liars. They don't have God in their hearts and their minds. They are working for the enemy. They want to destroy our country. They want to rewrite everything. They want to redo the Constitution. They want to change it into a socialist system. And another thing I've been thinking about is, let's just say this starts to happen. Where can I go? Sell everything I can as fast as I can, liquidate everything, and get out of the country? I don't want to live in a socialist state. Look at Venezuela. Venezuela, it went bad quickly in a socialist state. Went real bad. And we can go up north to Canada, but are they going to let us in? Probably not. You know, I got a connection maybe in Colombia. We got connections in France. Where can we go? I don't know. I'm worried. I'm really worried. So, yeah, we trust Christ, absolutely. But, you know, also be prepared. You know, and even Jesus says, make friends with your enemy on the way to court. You'll be taken care of. Be wise about things. Yeah, Obama, worst president in history.
I think earlier Bill mentioned being in Nazi California. And just for a second, it flashed in my mind, was he making a moral equivalency, or was he insulting authentic Nazis? I guess you could do both.
Nazis were pretty bad, though, but yeah.
Yes, they were. But I understand the sentiment. It has gotten far, far away from anything anybody imagined.
You know, and you see the violence, and it's just pockets, and it's going to blow over in a year. Okay, the momentum. That's what I think probably is going to happen. But hold on a sec. Let's see if I can do this. I have this app called, which you guys should all get, Conservative News Pro. And I just read some of the titles, and I was reading it going, oh my goodness. Oh, come on. Why is it taking a long time? There's stupid internet. We're getting a new modem in supposedly today. Okay, here we go. Let's see some of the titles. Now they're going to find them because they're not. You know, I need to collect them. Excuse me. Okay, that's not there. Some of the titles are scary to some of these articles. My Pillow CEO COVID and riots show what Biden presidency would look like. Yeah. They want to shut down their economy again. Let's see. Oh, there's some of these titles. I got to find them, but they're just like, and I was reading through some of them, and it was just amazing. Some of the stuff. I'll keep looking through and read some of the titles, but it's very disconcerting. You know, America, for example, is having a woman play in a movie Jesus. The World Health Organization is condemning America, and yet it doesn't condemn. And there's some other thing. It doesn't condemn. I forgot what it was. I'm trying to remember. Thug caught on video repeatedly stabbing Brooklyn deli customer for staring. Let's see. Key witness in Trump impeachment trial announces military retirement. Rutgers announces majority of all classes will be online. Netflix show will feature transgender character who's 9 years old. Let's see. Thief steals churches' American flags for military heroes. It just, I got to find it. Anyway. Yeah. Asian American researcher fired from Michigan State Administration for advancing facts about police shootings. Got statistics. He's fired for it. The truth, in other words. Stuff like this. How about this? San Francisco officials pushed the Karen Act that would criticize or criminalize racist 9/11 calls. So if you call 9/11 against a black person, Maybe you're a racist. That's why you're doing it because they're black. You could be in trouble. How many people are not are going to be afraid now to call 911? You know, they're out there walking. Black people are a gang. It doesn't matter what color, you know, black or white. And you know, it doesn't matter. Gangs follow. I'd call 911. Man, I'm being followed. I go here. This is a gang. I'm afraid. Are they black? Yeah. Sorry, can't help you. Are they white? Okay, we'll be right out there. You know, what's it going to be? Black Lives Matter protester punches black reported Trump supporter in the face. They got arrested. That's good. Yeah, I read some of the ones this morning. I was like, oh my goodness, you got to be careful. Couldn't believe some of the stuff. Anyway, it's just bad stuff out there. Oh, California couple charged with a hate crime for painting over Black Lives Matter mural. That's a hate crime? If someone put a Black Lives Matter mural on my garage door, I'm painting over it. Oh, you're racist. We're gonna arrest you. You know, I don't know what the context is, but geez. At any rate, it's just. Oh, get this one. Black Lives Matter activists organized Blackout Day to boycott businesses not owned by blacks. So it's completely racist. So if you're a white business owner, the blacks shouldn't go there. So they're advocating segregation and racism and saying it's okay. And if you don't agree with them, you're the one who's wrong. Socialist Seattle Council member vows to replace capitalism with socialism worldwide. Yeah, just some of the titles that you keep reading as you go, oh my goodness. Yeah. Anyway, so you can see there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world. I'm getting concerned about a lot of stuff. Mississippi Capitol to take down Andrew Jackson Monument. What was it? Oh, you heard about this? That when realtors take you into a house and show you, here's the master bedroom, they're not going to use the word master anymore. They're going to do something else. And Colgate or some toothpaste are not going to say whitening anymore. It's just insane. Police investigate nearly 24 American flags found burned in Massachusetts. Anyway, I recommend you guys get that app. So I'm really worried about what's going to be happening. I'm worried about our country. I hope I'm just wrong. I really do, you know, but I'm just it's just ridiculous, you know. It's when violence happens, people go out and stop it, but now they're not stopping it. When the good do nothing, the wicked prosper. This is what I'm worried about. That the wicked are going to continue to do this. And why the heck are companies bowing to what they want? I don't get that. Oh, that's right. Next, they're going to change Betty White's last name. That's a good one. You're going to boycott Betty White next? Yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah, Dixie Chicks are now the Chicks. It just...
Yeah, Ben Shapiro, he brought forth some of the newer statistics today in an article that he titled, "Not All Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter."
That's right. They didn't have any problem with abortion happening or with people with guns inside their own cities killing each other, black on black crime. No, It's the white intention of privilege. You got to destroy that. It's not just by the blacks. It's the destruction of the white stuff. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys something, whether you like this or not. This is what someone told me in seminary who was from South Africa. He told me something I've never heard it any other place. He told me this. He said that there was a certain city that the black community, black population in South Africa wanted. And this was a very affluent area, a city, and it looked good, was prosperous, yards were kept up, people wanted in, it just looked good, it was great. And the economy of that city was very good. But the black population, whatever it was, the name, they had a group name, wanted that city for some reason. And this is what we want, you give us this. And so the whites had to leave, and they ended up leaving, selling their houses at rock bottom prices, things like that, because they weren't going to stay. And then the black, this group took over this city, and he said within 2 years it was just basically a ghetto. He said it was just bad. I never forgot that, and he said that. He said it just went downhill. Now why? I don't know why, but he said that, and I was like, that's interesting. So, you know, it's just whatever. Can someone not know they are not elect? Henson, I would think someone could. Master bedroom could be plantation language, so I don't know. Did y'all see all the shootings in Chicago this weekend? Oh yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Democrat run cities. It's just bad. We're a Republican state. How many of you have heard of problems in Idaho? Anybody heard problems of Idaho? No, don't have any problems in Idaho, do we? But as more Californians and people from Seattle move in, it'll get bad. And then they're going to start taking our guns away from us here. Please pray for our new church, needs. I am pastor of. Not sure what you're praying. Okay. California moving to Idaho. Everybody's moving here, Joanne. People are moving here from all over. Apartments are flying up. It's like they spray the ground with water. Boom. There's apartments. They're widening the freeways. People are telling us that houses are selling within hours of being put on the market. And cash offers are being made all over the place. When we tried to sell our house, we got one crap offer. We don't know what happened. We are starting to think that God just didn't want us to move, and he kept us here for a reason. Yeah, Glenn, that's a good idea. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So Helen, you're ready to be, how many of you that I trained the other day really want to do help with CARM stuff? So, yeah, Joanne, it might be God not allowing it to sell. Yeah. Okay, so you got your laptop and everything ready? Maybe I'll call you guys. I'll take a break. I'll call you guys maybe tonight and stuff. An airsoft gun, that'd be a good thing to have too. I want to get one of those. Mossberg, what? Oh, let's see. Wait a second. I'll type that in. Mossberg 590A1. Oh yeah. To watch an ad. Good. Well, that Mossberg, wow. That's nice. What better way to end the show by giving us a gospel presentation? I need to start doing that on the air. Yep. Here's all we need to know: as born-again Christians, there are only two kinds of people in the world: those who do and those who don't, those who will and those who won't. That's right. Teachers of simple truth. Black Lives Matter is a fraud. Yeah, it is. And the way you're saying, I disagree. Notice how clever the title is, Black Lives Matter. I disagree. Also, they don't matter? That's not what we're disagreeing with. You have to say, I don't agree with the agenda that Black Lives Matter is promoting in other areas. That's what you have to say, the whole thing. So, only going to ever shots at 22. I've shot AKs, AK-47, AR-15s, AK-74, Glocks, Rugers, 9mm, 380s, 22s, shotguns. And I'm a civilian. I have some military buddies. They go, oh, I've shot 50 cals at this. Like, wow. Okay. Ernie Ray can call you. Okay. Call you late for dinner. Let's see. I'm going to see who is on my list of stuff. Because the only people I've vetted. And that is there, and yeah, Ernie Ray's not on my list, so nope. Okay. Train for a permit or stay away from them. Me too. I'll need saving. 19X will be 650-ish. Have you ever seen this? Let me see if I can find it first. A friend of mine's got one. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay, this right here. Just look, you can put it here, but look up this. Just do a search for Strybog. There's a URL there, but just type in Strybog and you can look it up. A friend of mine's got one, like $900, and it's technically a pistol, but it folds out, opens up, and it shoots 9. And it's pretty accurate. And you can fold it up and carry it inside, like here. Oh, it's yeah. Yeah, I have a concealed carry permit. We don't need one here in Idaho, but I have one. Yeah, a lot of blacks hate the BLM. Yeah, that's right, but you don't hear about them. Yeah. Anyway, this idea of me getting involved with political commentary on my show, it's not what I'm trained for. It's not what I've studied. But it comes up, and I know that a lot of people don't like me saying it, but that's just what it is. So that's what it is. Just what it is. So anyway, I'm going to get going. I got some stuff to do. Finish up a couple things, and maybe I'll call some people tonight. Train. If you're interested, email me tonight, info@carm.org, and I'll look and see, and maybe I'll. Yeah. Okay, Helen did good. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm out of here. Okay, folks. I'm out of here. God bless. We'll see you. Bye.